Hello crafty friends, my name's Alicia, but you can call me Crafty Al. And in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I made my first set of cards using the May 2025 SheetLoad of Cards printable. I hope you'll stick around to see the process and get a few tips along the way. Thank you so much for stopping by today. If this is your first time to my channel, I hope that by the end of this video, you'll be inspired to click on that subscribe button below and ring the bell for notifications. If you're already a subscriber and regular viewer, welcome back. I'm so glad that you're here again. Yesterday, I debuted the brand new SheetLoad of Cards printable for May 2025. This edition is going to show you how to make 8 A2 cards with just 2 pieces of 12 by 12 pattern paper and some cardstock. Now, if you haven't yet downloaded this PDF, make sure to check out that debut video, which I have linked in the description box below, and I'll also have as an end card at the end of this video. Also today, my creative team will be sharing their first sets of cards using the new printable. You can see what they've created using our monthly playlist. It will be linked in the description box below and as an end card at the end of the video. Now, if you would rather go channel by channel or go make sure you're subscribed to everyone, I do have their links in that description box as well. I know that everybody would love for you to stop by, see how they made SheetLoad their own, and leave them some love. As I get into today's process, I will tell you about the products and tools I'm using, but as always, if I ever leave you with any questions, feel free to leave those in that comment section below, and I'll get back to you just as soon as I can. Let's get crafty! I'm going to get started by cutting my 2 pieces of pattern paper per the instructions. Now this month there is quite a bit of scraps left over, and later I'll show you how I used up almost all of that to decorate the insides. For my papers today, I am using 2 pieces from Echo Park's Baby On Board line. Now, if your pattern paper does have a direction, you'll want to keep that in mind before you make the first cut. Mine probably could go either way, but I did go ahead and cut off the branding strip at the bottom first. And now what I'm going to do is cut 2 columns that are 3.5 inches wide. From the leftover column, I need to cut pieces B and C, but what I want to do is cut the 2 rows for C, so I cut 2 strips that were 1.5 inches tall. And finally, from this piece, I'm going to cut the piece B's, which we will need 12 pieces that are 4 inches wide by 1/2 inch tall. I start by going ahead and cutting that to the width of 4 inches, and now I'm going to use the measurement line to the left of my cut line and cut those 12 pieces that are 1/2 inch tall. Now you will want to keep each of these sets together because they will be lined up later, so you'll want to make sure that that pattern flows. I went ahead and finished cutting all 12 of those and just set the scraps to the side for now. I brought back in those 2 pieces that I cut to 1.5 inch tall for piece C's, and I'm going to cut each of those into 2 pieces that are 2.25 inches wide. Finally, from this piece, I'm going to bring in those original 2 columns that we cut, which are 3.5 inches wide, and cut those into pieces that are 5.5 inches tall. Now, don't forget, you do not need to remember any of these dimensions that I'm saying now, because you can download the free printable if you check out yesterday's debut video, which is linked in that description box below. While I cut the second piece of pattern paper in the exact same way, I wanted to take a minute to recognize a few special channel members. In the month of April, I had some of them earn their 1-year membership badge, so I would like to say congratulations and thank you so much for your continued support to the following members whose names are scrolling up on screen now. If you're ever interested in learning more about the perks of channel membership, you can click on the join button below this video or the link in the description box below. Next up for cutting is some of the cardstock. I'm going to start with CS1, which I am using a piece of Tailored Expressions blue cheese cardstock, and I'm going to cut this into 8 pieces that are 4 inches wide by 2 inches tall. To do this, cutting from the top, I cut 4 rows that were 2 inches tall and then cut each of those pieces to their final given width of 4 inches. For CS2, I need to cut until I get 8 pieces that are 2.5 inches wide by 3 3/4 inches tall, and you'll notice on the cutting guides that some of these are vertical and some are horizontal, but because it is just plain cardstock, we don't have to worry about a direction. Again, for this, I am using the blue cheese cardstock. While I cut that piece of cardstock, I have kind of a fun question or an inquiring minds want to know. I recently had a viewer leave a comment that they had been watching my sheet load videos for a year and just now made their first set. I wanted to know, how long did you watch before you made your first sheet load of cards? Let me know down in that comment section below. Next up for cutting is CS3, which this is a piece that you'll stamp or put your focal image on. For this, I'm just using white cardstock, and I cut this into 8 pieces that were 2 1/4 inches wide by 3 1/2 inches tall. While I will be stamping on mine later, that's why I chose a light colored cardstock, you could definitely do something different if you were going to add ephemera or die cuts for your focal point, and I think it would be really neat to emboss this piece. Let me know down below how you're going to make this part of sheet load your own. And finally, for the cutting guides, you'll need your card bases, which for this, you'll want 4 pieces of cardstock that you cut in half and fold in half. I just grabbed some card bases I already had in my stash. Mine are top folding, but if you prefer a side or a book fold, you could definitely use that as well. Now that all of the pieces are cut, we can start some assembly. Now, like the special instructions say on the front for the angled piece, you'll want to put that together before you put anything onto the card base. So I brought in the CS1 cardstocks and the little pattern paper strips. Before I put anything onto that cardstock mat, I did lay the pieces out so I knew that the pattern flowed correctly. Then what I'm going to do is add the outside 2 pieces first, or the top and bottom, followed by the center one. This way I can kind of get that 1/8 inch at the top and bottom, and then just center that 3rd piece right in the middle. Sometimes if you try to start at the top and go top, middle, bottom, you might not get the spacing that you want. Like my piece, some of your pattern paper may hang off the end if everything wasn't cut just correctly, but no worries, we will be cutting that off later before it goes onto the card front. I could continue to add those pattern paper strips just like I did for the first one. I wanted to show you it was possible, but if you've been around my channel long, you know that I love a helper when I have to align edges of pattern paper and cardstock. So for this, I brought in my mini Scor-Buddy, and I am using that ledge to help me get everything aligned nice and even. Now again, we are cutting off the ends of these so it wouldn't matter too much, but I just wanted to show you this tip in case you didn't know about it. Now you don't have to use a Scor-Buddy, you could use a paper trimmer, a Misty, anything that has a little ledge. Let me know what you plan to use down in that comment section below. I finished putting the rest of these together, most of which I did do off camera, but I do just want to remind you, make sure to lay out those pattern papers first so that the pattern flows between the 3 pieces. Once those were all done, I brought back in the pattern paper piece A's, and now I'm going to switch up the patterns so that the yellow stripes go on the floral background and the floral stripes go on the yellow background. Now this is going to be one of those places where you can make this your own as to how much you angle it or which direction you angle it, but you just want to make sure you do this first before you put anything onto the card bases. I did stick pretty much to what the sketch shows, and here is a look at what that looks like. You'll see the back has a little overhang, and we will trim that off later. Now, if you don't want to fuss with the angle or have that piece angled, you could definitely just have it straight across there, and then you can move it up or down to whatever suits your fancy. If you do have it to where it doesn't have to be at an angle, you can cut that cardstock and those pattern paper pieces a little bit less wide. Once all of the angle pieces were in place, I brought in some long bladed non-stick scissors and trimmed off the excess. When I am cutting off that excess, I try to keep the top blade of the scissors right against the pattern paper piece A so it cuts off nice and flush. Now it's finally time to bring in those card bases and get these pieces added. These are going to go centered left to right, and the top and bottom are flush with the top and bottom of the card front. For this first one, I am showing you how I just do it right there, kind of free range on my desktop. But just like with the skinny strips, I am going to bring in my mini Scor-Buddy to help me with the rest of them. When I add that piece using this, I don't have to worry about getting it flush with the fold part of the card and centered left to right. All I have to worry about now is centering it left to right. Again, a little bit easier, but not completely necessary. While I have the Scor-Buddy out, I'm going to let it help me put the pattern paper piece C onto the white cardstock piece for the sentiment. Again, this is just going to help me get it flush with the edge. Now for this, I am going to place it just flat down with some tape runner, and then the sketch shows it being about 1/8 of an inch up from the bottom. Now you can have that blank space there, or you could just have this be flush with the bottom of that piece as well. Totally up to you. I went ahead and kept it like the sketch, and I used the Scor-Buddy to help me finish putting those in place. Before those pieces get put on their blue cheese mat, I do want to go ahead and stamp the sentiment. So I brought in the Checking In stamp set, which is from Kristina, Werner, and Concord 9th, and I'm going to be stamping some of these sentiments with the Peaches and Cream ink. I got the hello set up to the right above the little piece of pattern paper, and once that was in place, I did ink it up twice with the Peaches and Cream ink just to get a nice dark sentiment. Now, before I had stamped this, I was going to stamp them all in the Peaches and Cream, but then I thought that might not look as good against the yellow pattern paper. So I finished stamping the floral ones with the Peaches and Cream, cleaned off my stamp, and then I brought in blue cheese ink, which I think the blue and yellow go well together, for the remaining 4. Now on these, because the ink is a little darker, I did just ink it up and stamp it once. Let me know, are you going to put an image on your piece or a sentiment like I have? Once all of the sentiments were stamped, I brought in CS2, which is the blue cheese cardstock, and I matted those sentiment pieces. This leaves you just a nice even kind of 1/8 inch border all the way around that piece. I brought back in the card bases, and now I'm going to get my sentiment added. For now, I am keeping everything nice and flat, so I added this with tape runner just right on the center of that piece. Now you could definitely pop this up with some foam tape if you wanted, and I know some of you will probably put little scraps at the top and bottom to keep everything a little more even. Again, SheetLoad is a great jumping off point for you to make these cards your own. For a little added decoration on the sentiment piece, I brought in this fresh cut flowers die from Tailored Expressions, and I grabbed a flower and a stem that looks pretty similar to some of the flowers on the pattern paper. I'm going to cut the stem out of Dill Pickle cardstock and the flowers themselves out of Peaches and Cream. Once I have 8 of each of those, I'm going to put a little dot of liquid glue on the front of the flower, get the stem in place, and I let those dry underneath a block for about 5 minutes. To add those flowers to the cards, I added a couple mini dimensionals to the back of each of the petal part. I want the flower to be raised at the top, and then I used some liquid glue on the leaf and the bottom of the stem. I just like the variation in depth that this gives you. What is your favorite way to decorate or do the focal points for cards that you make? Do you like to do a little simple stamping and a simple die cut like I have for these cards? Or are you more into stamping detailed images and coloring them in? Let me know down in that comment section below. I always love to get to know more about you and your crafty favorites. To finish off the fronts of these cards, I of course want to add a little sparkle. So I brought in some shiny diamond dots. These are number 5005, and I added a trio around the petal part of the flower. They just add a little extra shine and some more color. Let me know if you've ever used diamond dots in your card making down below. Like I mentioned earlier, this sketch does leave you with quite a few pattern paper scraps left over, and I'm going to show you how I use those. This is a look at what I had before, and here's a look at what I had after doing all the cutting and punching. From both of the pattern papers, I cut and punched 4 of each of the shapes you see in front of me. And now to decorate the inside, I'm going to do one of the yellow skinny strips at the bottom. And then on top of that, over to the right, I'm going to place one of the partial circles. And then to finish off the decorating on the inside, I added that little flag punch piece to the top left. This is a great way to add more decoration and use up some of those pattern paper scraps right away. I hope you enjoyed seeing how I made my first set of cards using the May 2025 SheetLoad of Cards printable. If you did, as always, a thumbs up is appreciated. Now don't forget to visit the creative team's videos by clicking the playlist here in just a second or the link in the description box below. Until my next video, I hope you're all having a crafty day. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch all the way to the end of the video. I hope now you'll consider clicking on one of the videos or playlists I have linked above. And if you are interested in any of the products or tools I used in today's video, I do have some links in the description box below.